3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our Sunday Q&A video. We're filming this on a rainy Saturday.
Liquid sunshine. Get excited.
Is that what it's called?
Liquid sunshine.
I don't think I've ever heard it.
Stay positive.
Oh, okay, sure.
Look on the bright side.
Okay.
You're a farmer, you're excited.
Okay, fair. Okay, so let's get right into the comments here. So first comment comes from I'm so smart 1999.
That's his name?
That's their name.
Okay.
So I'm so smart says, what's going to happen to the condo buildings where people don't close or default? How are the condo fees paid when the builder has held back a bunch of units? Can the condo corp still for? So many questions, scary times.
These are a lot of questions for sure. And I'm not sure that we have it on such a mass scale in one building where that's kind of been an issue. I don't know if we've seen that. We've seen projects get canceled. We've seen builders close shop, go bankrupt. We've seen that. I'm looking at my mirror instead of the screen here. I'm talking to the rear view mirror. We've seen all sorts of things, but it's not on mass scale yet. And you're right. There's a lot more questions than answers right now.
Well, I think this is one of as far as I can remember, granted, I haven't been in the industry for that long.
You haven't been on the planet that long.
I know, I haven't been on the planet that long. This is probably one of the first times that we've really had a situation like this in the pre-construction space, right?
Yep.
And we haven't necessarily seen it en masse the way you're talking about right now, but it does kind of feel like that might be the case for certain closings coming up, right? Like we've spoken to multiple people who have, paid $2,000 a square foot in one building, right? And so, your 400 square foot studio came up to like $900,000, and those closings are coming up like soon. And and so, you think about it in that sense, and I don't think we've really ever experienced, at least here, we haven't experienced kind of what's going to happen because, for condos, all we're seeing is prices continuing to come either stay flat or come down, but nowhere near where a lot of these closings, these pre-construction closings that are coming up are
what they bought at.
Yeah.
What they're selling at now versus what they bought at.
Yeah.
There's like the Grand Canyon between the two prices.
Yeah. And it's, we used to have people that, it was either buyers that were either, resale, but let's look at pre-construction. We haven't had, I don't think, anyone recently that's been interested in looking at pre-construction.
Nope.
Right. Even if, you look at an assignment deal, if it's $1,600 a square foot, but, as a deal, we'll give it to you for 13, 14. It still really doesn't make sense in a lot of cases, right?
Nope. There's too many new 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old buildings for sale, like resale, that are still new.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to see what's going to happen. I guess we're going to experience together. I'm so smart. So next comment here comes from Doug. Doug. Comes from Doug. And he says, good info. There's some condos in Whitby that are paper thin, so poorly built, many problems, and paid such a high price for. It's one of those things. I remember we were showing some houses in a subdivision in, I think it was Whitby. And it was like closer to the 407, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. North part of Whitby, there's lots of construction.
But then you just had one massive condo building. And I feel like there's just obviously downtown Toronto, you have to kind of fit in as much as you can. So you're going to have a lot of condos. But when it comes to like places like random North Whitby, it seemed a little odd to have a condo there, no? Especially as tall as it was.
They're going to rack them, pack them, and stack them.
Yeah.
So they're going to fit them in. And if a builder, they're running a business. If they can make money there and people buy, they're going to build.
Yeah.
You can't blame the builders for that.
Yeah. But, okay. Next comment here comes from Mowerman65. And Mowerman is just talking about the offer dates where people are not basically telling you what they want. They're just hoping you guess.
Yeah.
But he says, been through that myself. It actually sours me on the house and makes me not want to buy it. People don't care anymore. Had one in Durham that lost $60,000 from what they bought it for last year. People got greedy and sometimes it ends up costing them.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people that share your sentiments. As a realtor, I don't like competing in multiple offers. If I'm working with buyers, there's a lot more risk. And there's ways to mitigate the risk. But just generally speaking, I'd rather show a property, if my clients like it, negotiate price with the seller in an offer, a formal offer, have a financing condition, have a home inspection condition. All that changes the minute you start competing. The dynamics change, the strategy changes. So we don't like it either. Unfortunately, there's still people participating in that. There's sellers selling successfully that way. And there's buyers that are prepared to compete in that.
Yeah.
And so as long as it keeps working, people keep doing it.
I actually had...
There's a lot that don't work. And sellers will burn their fingers, or buyers will burn their fingers and overpay and wish they didn't compete. But there's still enough people prepared to do it because they want the house.
Yeah. And I was trying to book showings for one of our clients for today. And there were 12 properties that they had selected on the list. And out of those 12 properties, and these were all in the roughly around $1 million range in Mississauga. Out of the 12 properties, 10 of them had offer dates.
Yeah. Very competitive price point also.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even booking, you can't just look at a listing and see the price. You know your client's budget. You see the price and you book a showing. It's listed at $999. It's going to sell for 1.2, for example. But you need to do your homework to decide, well, if my client's budget is 1.1 or just over $1 million, how are you going to take into a property that it should, when you see what the last couple sales were, it's pretty clear it's going to be way over your client's budget. But you got to take the extra time to not frustrate your client, to show them properties that they actually have a chance to buy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So next comment here comes from Roadmap 999. And Roadmap says, Santo, how is it possible prices are not plummeting with the extended MOI of 6 months of inventory?
Well, this is, that's the big question, right? Sellers are not prepared to just drop their prices. They're just not. And buyers are still buying. Yes, sales are lower than what we've seen in a long, long time, but buyers are still buying, and sellers are just not prepared to give away the farm. They're just not. So as long as sellers hold out, and instead of selling in 4 or 5 days, some will hold out for 4 or 5 months, and some will remove their property from the market and not even sell at all and wait for another season. Too many sellers are actually pretty strong and holding out.
Yes. Okay. So next comment here comes from Bavishia Bat. And Bavishia says, just curious, can you believe them about 11 offers? Or is it that you can actually see that there were 11 offers? Simply trusting seller broker and believing there were 11 offers sounds skeptical.
I know what you're thinking, but I've got no reason not to believe them. When I'm the only offer and they say, oh, we just received one more, that's when I'm a bit more skeptical. But when they say there's 11, what's the difference? If there's 4, 5, 11, what's the difference? So I'm more skeptical when they say there's one in competition with ours. Mm-hmm. But when you get to 11, yeah, I believe it.
Those ones were also registered too. So
yes, and they're registered, which makes it a little bit, adds another element to making it real.
Yeah. Okay. So next comment here comes from MJP3141. And they say, Santo, Daniel, sorry to hear you two got fined and schooled for having a coming soon sign out
Not as sorry as
too
we
early.
are.
But glad to hear RECO takes action.
Yes.
What about listings where the seller agent calls a windowless and closetless room in the basement a bedroom, where they provide grossly wrong details? I'm tired of going to see open houses and finding out that the bedrooms are not usable, or the big living room and big dining room listed are actually one room that's cramped to serve both functions.
Right. Well, RECO reacts to your phone calls. So if you call in RECO or fill out their online form and complain about those, then RECO will investigate. But RECO on their own is not going to check out and review every listing, go visit it to make sure the living room and dining room and measurements are, accurate. So if there's something you're not happy with, you could fill out an online form and complain.
Yeah.
And RECO will look into it. Sometimes quick, sometimes a little longer, but they'll look into it.
And if they find us for the
But don't mention our name when you call.
if they find us for the coming soon sign being up 2 days too early, then I'm sure they'll go after that too. So next comment here comes from Deezed150, and Deezed says, I wonder if you've seen the situation where the buyer got his approval from the bank and say 3 days before closing, the bank pulls the approval, leaving the buyer scrambling at the last second.
We've seen it before. Not with our clients, but with other buyers looking to buy the properties we've sold. We've seen it before. And these are oftentimes buyers not prepared, but you'll see it especially not so much now because market prices are kind of flat. We've seen it where the market starts to dip in price and the bank says, wait a minute, we approved this 3 months ago, but prices are different now. Let's relook at it. That's when you get in trouble. And that's when a lot of people in the past, when the market changes and starts to dip, the bank has the priority. After all, they're the ones giving you the money. So they are in charge. And if they choose to relook at the evaluation, at the appraisal, they will. And yes, some people get caught.
But we've also seen it in the cases where the buyer situation fundamentally changes too.
Yeah.
In the sense of maybe they lost their job, depending on certain banks. I remember we had this conversation with Anthony, the mortgage broker, a while back, and different banks have different processes. So some banks will verify and approve everything right away as soon as the application comes in.
Yeah. And once it's approved, they don't want
once it's approved,
they don't want anyone else.
Close the book. It's done. So
closing 6 months later, that's good. We're not going to open this file again.
But then there's other lenders, from what I've heard, that will go back in and reconfirm employment, reconfirm all the details on the application just before closing. And if the buyer situation is fundamentally changed, let's say they added a massive car loan in that time, it's such a cliche thing that people talk about. Don't buy a car before you closing. But it's
because they do.
But yeah, they're buying a house with a garage. Oh, okay, now we need a car, right?
Yeah.
But if that fundamentally changes your application, and the bank decides to go in and relook at that before closing, they're well within their rights to be able to reassess the loan that they're giving you. Yeah. So we have seen that. But next comment here, Dad, I opened up Pandora's box once I started talking about the music.
Oh, the music.
So FBitHug5 says, bring back the old music, okay? And now every single video we have has a bring back the old music comment. And this one in particular has
How'd that song go? No.
Yeah. This one in particular has 9 likes, but a lot of them, they're getting a lot of support. It's making me double think what I did. So next comment here comes from Scram Baba, and Scram Baba says, LOL, what a joke. Isn't what the agent is doing reportable to the real estate board? And so
which story was that?
They're talking about the video where the agent basically listed it without offer date. They didn't accept the offers.
Oh, they turned down 11 offers.
And then they didn't put it back at a price that they wanted.
So he's saying, shouldn't that agent be reported?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. It's perfectly, look, it drives everybody insane,
Mm-hmm.
but it's well within our rules.
Yeah.
The seller at the end of the day can choose any offer they want or can refuse. They could have 100 offers and refuse them all. So it's well within our rules. That doesn't mean we should like it, but it is within our rule.
Yeah. Okay, so last comment here, and always ended off with a nice comment. This was actually a really nice comment, and this is from someone who supported our videos for quite a while. I remember seeing her comments back in the day. But Carrie, the nurse practitioner.
Carrie.
And Carrie says, wow, I started following you too when you only had a few thousand subscribers, and I just noticed you're at 16,500. Congratulations. I think what's making your channel a hit is that you both are just regular, everyday, hardworking people, or everyday people working hard on your passion for real estate, and you're doing it in an objective, unbiased way. I think people can see themselves in you both, and the father and son duo adds to the relatability. You've also escaped the realtor stereotype of being money-hungry, ego-driven scammers. I always look forward to your videos, especially those with the quick start real-life story. Hope you get to 100,000 subscribers.
Wow, what a comment.
Yeah.
If we ever start doing commercials, we're hiring her to write our commercials.
She is writing our commercials, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, that's such an awesome comment. And you know what? It's one of those things where we had, what was it? I think 2020 was when we started doing this, a lot more.
March 2020, second half of March.
That's when we started to do the videos, a lot more videos. And yeah, it's so interesting because we always see there's people that have been commenting on these videos for the past 5 years now and that are still with us. We've lost
community,
it feels. We've lost a few. Demoji, never see him again.
That's right, Demoji. We haven't heard of him in a while.
I don't know what happened. I think he changed his username. I got to go back to the old videos and see if I can find. So it's been incredible to see how the channel's been growing and how everyone that a lot of people that have been with us since the beginning are still with us now. We really appreciate it.
Your support is incredible.
Yeah. We work really hard on these videos. It does take up a lot of time, but we love doing it and love that it's helping you guys. So thank you so much again for your support. That's it for today.
We're almost arrived.
Yeah,
thank
we almost
you, everybody.
arrived. Someone asked actually, how do I submit my question for review? And I was going to put that in here.
Just tell them quick.
But you just leave your comments in this video. And leave them in the videos throughout the week. I go through them and pick out which ones I like and which ones I think would make good discussion topics, and we take it from there. So thank you guys. Enjoy your Sunday, and we'll see you soon.
Have a great weekend, everybody.